Thank you, Mark, and I'd like to welcome all of you to the Navy Memorial and to the Burke Theater for this really wonderful celebration we're going to have tonight of the book and one of our great leaders of all time in the Navy, Elmo Bud Zumwalt. As part of this year is our 25th anniversary here at the Navy Memorial. It seems like, as several of us were saying, it doesn't seem possible that 25 years have gone by since we established this memorial. And it has really, truly become an icon in the Navy and hallowed ground for many of our veterans that remember their lost brethren and sisters here. We have special thanks tonight to General Dynamics for sponsoring the reception that we had out there, and I hope you all had a chance to see the video that basically shows how we're putting together the USS Zumwalt. That will be christened next summer, and I'm sure it'll be an event that a lot of you want to see. But we're building that ship in a totally different way. And Paul Normand and I is your compatriot here. I thought I saw Kendall here somewhere, but Kendall Pease as well. He's probably getting a book signed. Also, like to thank Bill Thompson, who not only was in my position way back when this all started, but is really responsible for the memorial coming together. But he's also responsible for making tonight happen. He not only arranged for our guest speaker to be here and to sign books, but has helped him, I think, a little bit with the writing of this book, and also put the arm on General Dynamics to come up with the money for the reception. We also need to recognize all the Zumwalt family members that are here tonight. It was really nice to meet some more of the family. I had met a couple of you before, but I think I'm almost all the way through the second generation anyway. So it's very, very nice to meet you all and to have you with us tonight. Our distinguished speaker this evening is Larry Berman, who joins us from Atlanta, where he's the founding dean of the Honors College at Georgia State University. We have in the audience a lot of his former students at UC Davis, where he, for a long time, was, and he now is Professor Emeritus at that great institution. And they kind of stick with you, I guess. A lot of them followed him out here. A lot of them came out here because they love D.C., but to see the professor tonight is, I think, a great treat for them. Larry is the author of 4 previous books on Vietnam. He's a Guggenheim Fellow. He's a Fellow in Residence at the Woodrow Wilson International Center. He's a recipient of the Bernath Lecture Prize and the Vice Admiral Edwin B. Hooper Research Grant. We're proud to host the launch of his latest book, Zumwalt, The Life and Times of Admiral Elmo Bud Zumwalt, Jr. Ladies and gentlemen, Larry Berman.
Thank you so much. Let me just get set up here. Hope you're all well fed and you've enjoyed the wonderful collegiality outside. And I certainly delighted in meeting so many new friends, and it's good to see so many old friends and my former students as well. Most of those students, while they were from UC Davis, I really got to know here in Washington, D.C. as well when I lived here for about 8 or 9 years when I was the director of the University of California, Washington Center, maybe 3 miles from here. So life is full of circles, and one of the great circles in life is when you see your former students on tremendous success trajectories and their careers. I also wanted to thank Bill Thompson, who was not only a great interview for me when I first met him, but put me in touch with so many others who I could interview in writing this book, and whose early chapters of a marvelous book that he himself has written, but with the title of Gumption, which if you want to really study the life of a remarkable man and through his own insights, Bill has written this book, and I certainly benefited so much from reading it, and I've used it with attribution as often as I can. I want to thank the Navy Foundation. I want to thank General Dynamics, and I am struck by the fact that Bud Zumwalt was one of the really the great godfathers of the Navy Memorial, and at the time of his death, he was chairman of the board, and he was deeply committed to this. And before the night, I went out there and I looked at the frieze, which has a dedication, a plaque to young Elmo, and a brave sailor who is a key part of my book, who would die of cancer that he and his father attributed to exposure to herbicides in Vietnam. They had no doubt about that. And I'll talk a little about that today. Also, I'm cognizant of the fact that C-SPAN is here, Book Television, and I'm delighted for several reasons, and primarily because that's really how I got to know Bud Zumwalt. I'll just tell this story very briefly, but I got to know Bud, and those of you who don't know Admiral Zumwalt, didn't know Admiral Zumwalt, when I refer to him as Bud, that is because throughout his whole life, that is how he wanted to be referred to. He asked people to call him like that, and it's just become part of my everyday expression, particularly when I was having writing blocks, and I would say, Bud, where are those documents? And where is that material? But I did get to know Bud Zumwalt very well in 1999 when I was a fellow at the Woodrow Wilson International Center for Scholars, writing my book, No Peace, No Honor. And BookTV selected me that year to follow me around the entire year as I was at the Wilson Center writing No Peace, No Honor, and Nixon, Kissinger, and Betrayal in Vietnam. If you knew anything about Bud, you knew that anything with a subtitle that had Nixon, Kissinger, and Betrayal in Vietnam would get his attention. And if it had Kissinger in it, then he'd be very happy to speak to you. And he and I shared a similar perspective on the end game. I interviewed him for BookTV, and was one of the component parts of it. And I see Bill Burrs here tonight from the National Security Archive. Bill was in that as well. And it was a delightful experience. This was sort of the tantamount to this old house, building a house. Well, this was how you go about writing a book. And Bud and I got to know each other then. I had the privilege of serving with him on the advisory committee to the Vietnam Center at Texas Tech University. And we developed a friendship at that time. I always wanted to write this book, but I had to wait till the materials were available. And I'm going to talk about why I wanted to write it in a second. I also want to acknowledge the fact that there are 3 of the 4 Zumwalt children are in attendance here, and each one of them were unfailingly helpful to me in writing this book. And I could not have written this book without them, in terms of the personal materials, the letters that they provided me, the pictures, the videos, and then my individual meetings with each of them as I struggled to try to put this story together, so many pieces. And it's not easy for them either, because they didn't know what kind of book I would be writing, and what they might be contributing to. But so it's a particular honor for me to have them here today. And also it's a particular honor to have my son here today as well, who I just want to say that, when life is full of these great circles, and it's really great when, your son, who lives here in Washington, D.C. and works in Treasury, can attend one of his father's talks. And I didn't even make him buy the book, which is the key. I'm particularly proud of Scott, and just want to say that. And I look around the room, there are some other good friends, including my oldest friend and college roommate, and it's just really great just to see so many people here. So, I've got 30 minutes, 35 minutes, because what I've learned is, and this is difficult to speak for only 35 minutes on a book, because first of all, professors are programmed to talk at 45 and an hour and 45-minute intervals. I'm not sure I can do anything in 30 minutes, but I really do try, because oftentimes the questions are really the best part, and then your questions will allow me to either follow up on areas that I maybe didn't cover. If I don't like your question, I'll just talk about whatever I want, but which, that the presidential candidates can do it. I'm entitled to do that as well, and like. So I want to talk to you about what this book is and what this book is not. I want to introduce you, particularly the young people here, to Bud Zumwalt and what I think is important about his life. Because sure, he is the father of the modern Navy, but there's so much more to him, and so much more to the lessons that I think I'm able to portray in my book. Bud Zumwalt is remembered as a trailblazer who reformed the Navy, and he was a champion of the men and women who served in it. That's a given. He was the iconoclastic admiral who brought a Navy drifting towards the shoals back into safety.